The film never lies. And the scouting report says LSU's Garrett Nussmeier is a day 2 NFL draft pick.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network, a 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you guys. Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback out of LSU. He's my QB3. I believe he's Keith's QB3 as well. We're going to break down his scouting report, the strengths, the concerns, explain the grade, and give you those NFL comps. And maybe we got time, talk about some teams and some realistic landing spots for him in the 2026 NFL Draft. But before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and you get $200 back in bonus bets if you win. Garrett Nussmeier, but 6'1", 205-pound quarterback out of LSU. Keith, coming off a successful week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Boots on the ground. You saw him in person, Keith. When you think about your LSU brethren, that one of those Tigers, Keith, as I asked so far through the first 2 episodes, what's his best trait? What's his superpower heading into the NFL?
DP, just like an LSU Tiger would be, he's Tiger tough, right? Let me stop playing. All right, let me take off the bias hat and and get into this evaluation, right? Let's have some fun. Let's get into this evaluation. I think when you take the Senior Bowl, right, and the Senior Bowl was a confirmation of what I felt the entire time. Not about the tangibles, but the intangibles. And this young man is tough and he's competitive at the end of the day, right? And in my opinion, that's going to be his superpowers to be able to make it. And I've discussed it before, right? And I talked about just observing him at practice, right? He was one of the most competitive guys at practice the entire time. He was one of the most energetic guys at practice the entire time, right? And I thought that it was great that it culminated. I think that's the right way to say that, right?
Yep.
In the game and him being the MVP, but then also kind of setting the tone from the jump, right? With the American team and scoring 2 touchdowns, right? From early on, right? Just knocking out the 2 touchdowns. And then, that kind of dictated the rest of the game, right? So I thought that part translated. The gamer, I think that's another thing that you can say, like the gamer in him, like the high intensity, wanting to make a play, wanting to do something with the football is there. Now we get into the physical tools, DP. It's a weird situation for Garrett as you try to maneuver through what his physical tools are, because I think on one hand, you see him make every throw on the field, right? And rip some beautiful throws. And then there are some throws, DP, where you may sit there and you may question a little bit arm strength, right? And I think I'm going to put him, much like I did Ty, and I'm going to put him in the good bucket, not great. But versus Ty, I think that he has the freestyle portion more down pack as far as, we talked about escaping the pocket and doing different things and, trying to make people miss. He utilizes his legs just a little bit more willingly, like to do the created play type of situation. The off script stuff is the best way to put it. So that's why I would, if I had to rank him, DP, I'm gonna go gamer, competitive nature, and will to win. Like that's #1, right? We talk about intangibles, and then #2, his ability to play off script, and I do think he can execute every throw on a football field. That's what I'm gonna go as far as top 2.
No, I definitely agree with you on that, because I mean, you saw it, like I said, that last day of practice, a 2-minute drill, and just that desire. And it's not a game; it's a game situation, but it wasn't a game. But you couldn't tell Garrett Nussmeier wasn't the game.
It wasn't a game.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like, hey, we got in scoring. It's 2-minute drill. We got in scoring position. We trust our kicker. We walk out of here with a win. And that type of energy and just the mentality that he practiced with I loved it. And you're right. I have something things that, just watching them, I think for me, it's the pro readiness. Like, this is a guy that can come in and run an NFL offense today. Like today. You give him the playbook, he's gonna learn it and he's gonna run it. And I think with so much West Coast injection of the West Coast offense in the NFL, it fits him very well. You know what I mean? And to your point about the Ty Simpson thing, yeah, the 100%. I mean, you attribute especially to the reps because he's started multiple years. You see the clock go off for him quicker to get out the pocket. Extend. He did it in practice. I think it might have been, was it the second day of practice? I think he was doing some 2-minute drill stuff. He rolled out to his right, ripped the throw down the sideline to one of the open receivers. I think in the game, he did the same thing on he did the same thing in the 2-minute drill. He rolled out right, threw the ball back in the middle of the field. They was able to spot it, spike it, get everybody lined up. And in the game, he threw the 2-point conversion to Malachi Fields. Same thing, rolling out to his right, keeping his eyes down the field, and be able to make that throw. And I think for him, like the accuracy is a big thing for me. This is an accurate quarterback, natural thrower of the football. And I like guys who are natural throwers of the football. Like when I don't have to worry about your mechanics looking robotic and I got to rework stuff. And, no, I don't have to do that with Nuss. Nuss is technically sound. He throws with a good base. When he's healthy, especially. You see him good turn and torque from his core. He keeps his shoulders leveled. He's not a slanted thrower. He's got a nice compact throwing motion. He can get the ball out quickly. I saw that in person in Clemson. How hey, quick game, we get the ball out, and he could do those type of things. And then honestly, that's what today's NFL is a lot of times. It's quick game, and then we take our shots, right? Mm-hmm. And being able to operate the quick game is a big thing in the NFL. So I think the timing and rhythm, he's a type of quarterback that plays that he's going to excel. For defense, you got to get him off schedule. I think now he can make the plays off schedule and everything. Heck, even against Clemson, they ran a QB zone read, and you could tell Clemson did not expect him to keep it, and he got 10 yards. I think he got a first down for it, and I was like, wait, Nuss just ran the ball? All right, cool. Nobody saw that coming, you know what I mean? And it worked out in their favor. But that functional athleticism, whether it's throwing, out of the pocket or if there's some free yardage there. Hey, it's 3rd and 5. You playing man, guys get out of their lanes and he can get out of the way of the rush. He's going to pick up that first down. And he's not afraid to pick up that first down either. So that toughness, that moxie, all the intangibles are there, but the accuracy and ball placement, whether it's outside the numbers, anticipating throwing lanes, those are the things that translate to the league at a high level. Can you see it well? Can you see it quickly? Can you get it out and make the throw? Garrett Nussmeier is a point guard style quarterback. He's going to distribute the ball every time. You just got to give him shooters. You give him shooters, he can get the ball to where it needs to be.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think too, one other thing, and I'm probably follow this up on next segment when we talk about concerns. I think he's a quarterback that you almost have to mix up your pre-snap and post-snap look, because if you stay the same pre-snap, he has enough reps to where he knows where he's going with the football, right? And you talked about it, right? The timing and rhythm thing. He gets the ball, whether it's 1-step, 3-step, 5-step drop, whatever it may be. He gets the ball, delivers the football. You don't change it up or switch it up, anything like that, or you don't have elite athletes to disrupt the wide receivers, anything like that, then he's going to be able to kind of pick you apart, right? And it's going to be pretty much easy for him working down the football field.
One other thing before we get ready to switch over, Keith, that I appreciated watching them at the Senior Bowl, the willingness to take the checkdowns, right? And make that declaration quickly to where, okay, we got the high routes, we got the deep shots. Look upfield, okay, there's cover 4. I'm throwing my back is right in front of me. You know what I mean? Get it to my back. That's easy 4 or 5 yards. It's 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. And he's the type of quarterback that's going to help you stay ahead of the chains with that decision making. I really appreciated that watching him at the Senior Bowl.
Yep, I agree. DP, let's do this, man. Let's move on to the next segment, right? The next segment is what we're talking concerns, right? We're talking concerns for Garrett Nussmeier, a guy that has had his evaluation has been right, both hot and cold, right? It's been both Heisman and it's been both third round, right? So we're going to discuss the other part of this, right? We talked the strengths. Let's talk the concerns, right, about Garrett Nussmeier as he goes through this NFL draft process and who he will be as NFL draft prospect.
Finding a doctor you actually like can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network, nearby, and has availability. But you also want a doctor who listens, makes you feel comfortable, and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments for more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster, so that you can spend more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed-sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Breaking down the concerns for LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. That's what we're getting into next. Thanks for being an everydayer with us. If you want the show ad-free, check out the Everydayer Club. Go to LockedOnNFLDraft.supercast.com to subscribe and become a member. Garrett Nussmeier and the concerns, Keith. I think I've been, one of the big things for me has been the physical, the arm strength, the arm talent and everything. I think he talked about the fact that he's not even at the Senior Bowl, he wasn't 100% healthy. So I'm still holding out hope that it's the health issue that kind of has hampered him from being able to put the same velocity I felt I saw on tape in 2024 behind some of his passes. Because like you said, he made a lot of good throws in Mobile. And then there was something, I think it was the first day of practice, 7-on-7s, and you got a seam route to the tight end, and it's just drive the ball, Nuss, and he throws it at his feet. And it's it's 7-on-7. Yeah. And I was just what what was that? I was with the back, looked at it, so I was did he slip? Was his footwork? He looked like he threw it normal. And I was just okay. Then he had it was a throw to Malachi Fields down the right sideline. Fields he beat the corner. He had stacked him. He left it short again. And I'm just Nuts, you gotta get that out there. Let Fields go run underneath that. Because when your guy wins early like that, you gotta reward him, dog. Let him go get it. And especially once you got you got safety trying to rotate over, put that out in front, let him go ahead and get underneath it and make the play. But the ball was late. I think Malachi tried to make a play on it, ended up being a contested situation and stuff like that. I want to see at the combine. I hope that he is close to 100% as possible, because I want to see what the arm talent truly looks like unveiled, healthy. Because that's probably going to be my biggest question: is can you drive the ball consistently? Because Keith, at the end of the day, it's all about where you land in the NFL too, right? Not just schemes and teammates. It's cities, it's weather, it's dome or open. You can't take a average arm quarterback and say, "Hey, go play in MetLife." You know what I mean? With the Jets and Giants, because they get that crazy swirling wind in the in the October, November, December, or they get snow and it's raining and everything goes crazy in that stadium, right? Or if you're in the AFC North, every single team in that division, it's a cold weather team, right? Do you have the hand strength or the hand size to grip the ball in cold weather? Can you still rip the ball, or do we have to run the ball? Like, you got to be able to fit where your skills have to fit the weather that you're going to be playing in, right? Like, you can't take Tua and throw Tua in Kansas City. Yeah, it's gonna look straight for September and October. November and December, yeah, it's not gonna look so good because it's gonna be frigid, right? So I think that's gonna be a big thing for me with Nuss is the arm talent. I think it's above average arm just off of what we saw this year, but I'm putting it under that asterisk of he wasn't healthy.
Yeah, no, and that's why I said there's a right. My hands went like this. It did the 6-7, right? I did the 6-7, because it's a balance it's a balance beam where you kind of go back and forth, right? Where it's like, okay, that look average. Like, no, that look really good, right? Like, and I don't know if it's just him and his willingness to think that, like, okay, let me take some off of the football because I have to try to, be accurate with this pass. So there are different elements to it. And I think when it comes down to pure arm strength, the combine is always a good test because they let them rip it, right? 40, 50, 60 yards down the field. And so
in the dome too.
Yeah, in the dome. So we'll be able to see DP. My concern, I'm gonna go with, and this is just for every quarterback that falls in this category, the gunslinger mentality. Because it's going to be some situations where he's a streaky accuracy, streaky player, period. Where I think that decision making, accuracy, and like they all fall under the gunslinger thing, and they fall in streaks, right? Meaning that he's going to dice you up for 10 straight throws, and it's all going to look like perfection, right? Like it's going to be chef's kiss. And then there's going to be probably about 5 to 7 decisions potentially in a row that you're going to say, what are we doing, right? What are we doing at this facet? And it could result in turnovers, right? So for me, for Garrett, the thing is, it's about having one bad play and not allowing that to turn into 5 bad plays, right? And I think that's kind of been a representation of his career in totality, meaning that not having one bad game, one bad quarter, not 3 more bad quarters, having one bad game, not 3-4 bad games to follow that up, right? So I think for Garrett, it's ending the streakiness, and that tied into being a gunslinger, and that mentality, and that tied into decision making. Like, so it's a picture, right? That they all intertwine together, for Garrett Nussmeier. But listen, when he's on and he's dialed in, he's dialed in.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's going to be a big thing with this. Just like I think I put in my report, he has a tendency of making those I can make this work type of throws, and it's like, Garrett, no, you know what I mean? Was it the Florida game? We threw it back, rolling to his right, threw it back across the middle of the field.
It was. I think he threw was it 3 or 4 interceptions against Florida? I'm gonna check real quick. I believe it was upwards of 3 interceptions.
So it's like, just kind of like his aggressiveness. I listen, what's the old phrase we always use, especially when we were at Draft Network? It was like, hey, I'd rather have a dog that I have to tell him, whoa, than sick him. Yep. Right? Like, so I'm perfectly fine with quarterbacks who do have that gunslinger mentality. I wouldn't, like Brett Favre and like some of these quarterbacks who, like Jameis Winston. Only thing I would have said, hey, let's make calculated risks, right? Like that way you don't lead the NFL in interceptions for the history of the league. Brett Favre, you're not the interceptions leader, right? I want to let's see if we can cut out 70 to 100, 75 to 100 of those interceptions by being a little bit more calculated, right? But I'd rather have a guy that's willing to make big time throws and listen, you're gonna have. It's not going to be a situation where, like I always say this, I love anticipatory throws. You can't anticipate every window. You're going to have to drive it. And if you have to drive it, I'm fine with a guy that has the tools and the mentality to drive the ball. So I'd rather get Nuss and say, hey, let's make sure, and that's what being in a pro offense with a veteran quarterback in the room, where you say, hey, and in practice, I think it was Tua's rookie year where they were like, Yeah, Tua's just it's a monsoon. Tua's throwing so many interceptions. Pat Mahomes, rookie year, like, man, this Pat Mahomes kid threw 7 interceptions yesterday at practice. Good. At least you know what you're not supposed to do in game. Like, you know what windows you can't test. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't want you to go 100 for 100 in practice and we get in the game and you try those same throws and none of the team who's not your teammates, they're intercepting you and you got 6 picks in the game. Don't Nathan Peterman me. I don't need that. You know what I mean? So I think with Nuss, just like getting with the right coach and tell him, hey, I'm cool with you being aggressive. Let's just be calculated in when we are aggressive. Like I talked about with Mendoza. Mendoza's an aggressive thrower too, but he makes he calculates when he wants to make those decisions. You give him the 1-on-1, he's going down the field almost every time. Like if he sees that 1-on-1, that safety shaded on the other side of the hash, Mendoza's going right to that 1-on-1. He's trusting his receiver to do that. Those are the type of calculated risks that I'm willing to take. I don't want you to just throw it into double coverage or back cross your body and put it in the harm's way. I think getting some of that aggressiveness kind of toned down with Nuss will help a lot. And then I think for him too, Keith, you tell me how you feel. Interior pressure can throw him off a little bit. Where I think with me seeing him in person, I appreciated his athleticism. Where you saw Clemson try to get to him with TJ Parker and Will Helt and those edge rushers, and then he got around the outside. He got outside the pocket. He created some second reaction throwing opportunities and extended plays. But when they were able to get pressure up the middle and he couldn't get out the back door, then you started to see, because then he started backpedaling. And when he did try to reset and throw, that's when the questions for me with the arm talent. I'm like, he had a couple throws where he's trying to throw from deeper in the pocket and the ball is short. And I'm like, man, you may not have the juice, but again, asterisk injury. So I want to see him be able to not just move the pocket in a launch point to get out, but more so sidestep that D tackle, reset, climb, watch some Drew Brees and stuff like find that pocket navigation, that comfort level in the pocket to navigate and get away from the rush and still be able to throw without getting out of the pocket.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And DP, just to clear something up real quick, the Florida game, DP actually didn't have multiple. He had a 55% completion percentage, which, is not great. And then he had 1 interception, but I believe that was the 1 interception that you may have been talking about. But that was a close game. Remember, it was 20-10, and I think DJ Lagway threw like 5 interceptions.
He threw the 5. Yeah, he threw the bunch of
he threw 5 interceptions too. So it just wasn't great. And putting it into context, because then everybody's going to talk about him being benched, right? He got benched in the Alabama game where followed up with injury. Listen, I'm not a reporter. I'm just reporting what appeared to happen, right? Took Nussmeier out at that moment, DP, and finishing the Alabama game. He was still 18 of 21. He had an 85% completion percentage against Bama, and didn't play again after that. So there's a lot of context and things that have to be unfolded with Garrett Nussmeier and the entire LSU situation, because you had coaches coaching for jobs. You had a lot of things going on at that point that I think people could have been maybe the potentially the scapegoat. I'll put it like that, right? So let's do this, DP. Coming up next, man, let's talk about the grade that we gave Garrett Nussmeier. Then let's talk about some NFL comps. Let's discuss that coming up next.
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-proportioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Explaining the grade and NFL comps for LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. Keith, I'll start. I have him as a back in the second round quarterback for me. I have him day 2 in that second round range. I gave him a 7.5. And again, like, he moved up. He's my QB3 right now, behind Simpson and behind Mendoza. And in the healthier he gets, and the more we get to see him in this process, I'm more than likely you're going to be at his pro day when LSU has their pro, and he's going to, by the time it's pro day, he should be 100% healthy for sure. By the time we get to late March, early April, whenever they have the pro day, throwing sessions and everything. But I give him a second round grade. I think this is still a guy that I think, I talked about with Ty Simpson yesterday, the Cardinals, the Jets. I don't know if that weather pattern works best for him. But the Cardinals are in a dome, and his accuracy and his ability to throw the ball at all levels will unlock a Marvin Harrison Jr., will continue to pepper and feed a Trey McBride. I think the Cardinals should feel good about being able to take a quarterback top of the second round, in my personal opinion, and not have to worry about trying to go spend a bunch of money on a free agent. But yeah, man, I got the second round grade on him. My comp, Keith, Brock Purdy. My comp is Brock Purdy. And I see that's point guard style, the anticipatory throws, the accuracy, the gamer, and like the intangibles. Like, I was just kind of like watching. I went back and watched some Brock, from this season. And I watched Nuss, and I was like, man, these dudes, they maneuver. The body language is almost identical, and how, like, when these guys are on and they're confident, like, you can't tell them they aren't nice, and they're not one of the best to step on the field. But then also some of the concerns, like Brock Purdy does that cross the body throw. Like, even though Nuss hit some of those, Brock's hit those too. And then, but at the same time, it gets him in trouble because he'll go back to the well, and now you throw an interception. So it's just like, yeah, like, if you know what I mean? Like, hey, you got that completion. Let's wait a while before we go back to that cross body throw, or let's not go back to it at all. Truthfully, you're not supposed to make that throw. Brock Purdy is my comp for him. I think similar height and weight, and then similar physical tools, and the way that they win and the way that they play.
Yeah, no, I like those, DP. All right, my grade and my comp. I'm gonna go with I went with a late second round, and I was really fringe on going early third round, right? But I'm gonna go a late second round grade on him. And it's weird, right? Because I look at guys like the Will Levises and the Anthony Richardsons, right? And I think Nussmeier, in my opinion, has a more in-depth body of work, right? But I think for as high as the highs are, the concerns are the concerns too. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The really high ceiling and really low floor could be applied in both elements, right? So that I had trouble with that, because I'm like, I know I like Nussmeier and both of those guys coming out, but also the floor when you factor in the injuries, the size, the turnover, just the whole type of body of work. So definitely it was difficult to kind of place that as far as my brain and my processing of it. But I'm gonna go second round grade on Garrett Nussmeier behind Ty Simpson. And then NFL comp, I'm actually gonna go with the comp that you used for Ty Simpson that we discussed yesterday. I was going with Tony Romo. And
that was my initial comp from Summer Scott was Tony Romo.
Yeah, I'm going with Tony Romo because It's the ebbs and flows, DP. And me being a former Dallas Cowboys fan, I know the excruciating pain that could happen, right? If you allowed Romo to make decisions, but I also know that he was better than what a lot of people say as quote unquote the worst quarterback ever, right? Like he was a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He just seemed to make decisions at times, right? And I used to be a Tony Romo, what they call it, truth this, right? Try to defend Romo. And then he would wait to prime time when they're playing the Giants, Sunday night football or Monday night football, and throw 2 interceptions in very inopportune times. And I would just be sitting, I'm like, man, you are giving them the stick to hit you with, right? Like you're giving them the stick. Don't do this, Romo. Don't do it. And sometimes I feel like that with Nussmeier. But I think, like you said, like if you get the best of what you can get from him, there's a reason why in 2024, somewhere around November and December 2024, people discussed him being the number 1 overall quarterback. There's a reason why. That part is there, right? But there's also a reason why people discuss him being a 3rd round pick. That part is there too. So I think when you mix those two in, you get a 2nd round player, a 2nd round grade, a late 2nd round grade. But I am, like I said, just putting it in context of, throwing in some other 2nd round guys. Like I even think about the Bo Nix, the Michael Penixes. I feel, this is weird to say, I feel more comfortable with who I know Nussmeier to be. And feel like I have more data points. I don't know if you feel the same way. Like, because I didn't want to just leave it at Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, right?
Yeah.
Like Bo Nix, the Michael Penix, and even JJ McCarthy, you could put in that bucket, right? I feel more.
You absolutely can put in that bucket.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable with. I know who Garrett Nussmeier to be because he has stuff. And you know what it is? It's an extensive resume of him putting it all on his back. And this would be my last statement. We talked about Ty Simpson. We talked about Garrett Nussmeier, right? 2 programs, Alabama, LSU, historically have consistently put out 1st-round wide receivers, 1st-round running backs, right? And I'm going to challenge people to find those 1st-round wide receivers and 1st-round running backs for LSU this year and for Alabama this year, right? And I think that's going to add a different context to what's going on. If will we look back and say that Indiana had a better wide receiver core than LSU and Alabama combined? And that is a statement that neither one of us ever thought that we would make, right?
Right.
No, it's potential, like potentially there. So just looking at it from that perspective, DP.
Yeah, no, I think, and like I said, that Tony Romo comp was my comp back in summer scouting.
Yeah.
When we first introduced Nuss. And I think for me, Keith, if I start to see that 2024 arm return, that's the main reason why, like the Brock Purdy thing. I think the play styles are similar in terms of like, especially then the body types, height, weight, stuff like that. But it's like, okay, then you got hey, you got to be on time as a thrower more times than not, than be able to just truly drive the ball, things of that nature. If he gets that 2024 arm back, or I feel like that arm is like present again, that Tony Romo comp's gonna go right back to me. Like, of course, he'd be I think Tony Romo was like 6'2", like 220 or something like that. So of course, different body types, guys. Somebody's gonna look up Tony Romo's height and weight. Same thing for Ty Simpson. Like, hey, Tony Romo's bigger than these guys, right? Yes, Tony Romo ate more. We get it. You know what I mean? But just the play style and how he won and his strengths are similar to both guys. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think Nuss could. Keith, truthfully, Nuss and Simpson. People might, more Nuss than Simpson. I wouldn't be shocked if Nuss is a rookie starter, if he gets drafted to the right situation. Ty, I think the best bet is you draft him and you still let somebody else take the bumps and bruises for the first 7 to 8 weeks and let him just continue to learn and know your offense, know all the checks, calls, the balances, all that type of stuff. But Nuss, I feel like he's stepping as a starter as a rookie, you know what I mean? And you get in the camp and it's him versus a vet and you're like, what's the old phrase? If the vet and the rookie are even, you lean the rookie, right? Like, I think Nuss could be a day one starter, or probably after 4 games, the crowd's calling for Nuss to get the reins.
Yep. I agree with that. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at the talent code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on Monday, guys, we have our post-Super Bowl mock draft that we're going to bring to you guys. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.